Today I have for you one of the classic stories from literature, one of the classic love stories from literature, and a real life story, not a fictional one, and that's the love story of Robert Browning and Elizabeth Barrett. Now that is a captivating tale of literary romance that happened in the 19th century. Both Browning and Barrett, they were famous poets of their time, and their love story, it gained significant attention due to their poetic prowess and the challenges that they had to overcome. It's a beautiful one, really. So let me just start. So Elizabeth Barrett, she was a celebrated poet, okay, and she suffered from health issues, and she used to live a reclusive life because her father was overprotective. In 1844, Robert Browning that is, he came across Barrett's poetry, and he was deeply impressed when he read her poetry. He was deeply impressed, and he decided that I am going to write a letter to her. And in that letter, he expressed his admiration for her work. That marked the beginning of their correspondence. Their letters quickly turned into a deep and meaningful connection, with both the poets discussing their thoughts, their feelings, and their creative pursuits. Their emotional bond that grew over time, and Browning's support and encouragement that helped Barrett to gain confidence and independence. Now, I told you that Elizabeth's health, that was really not good. Despite her fragile health and her father's objections, Browning's unwavering love, that prompted her to take bold steps. Imagine that man. Although she's ill, he does not care, right? And his love, that remained unwavered. Isn't that the kind of love that we dream of? Now, moving further, in 1846, Browning proposed to her, and they secretly married, and they eloped to Italy. This decision was actually driven by their desire to escape the restrictions that were placed on Elizabeth by her father. Living in Italy, away from the constraints of the Victorian England, that brought them immense happiness. Both of them were really happy together. They continued to write and publish poetry, and their literary collaboration and personal support for each other flourished. That is the kind of love everybody is looking for, isn't it? Now, in 1850, they welcomed their only child, and affectionately that child, he was known as Pen, P-E-N, Pen. Their love story is often considered one of the most iconic ones in literary history. Their shared passion for poetry, their mutual respect, and their ability to nurture each other's creativity, that played a very important role in their love, in their enduring love. Elizabeth Barrett Browning's most famous work is, apart from that one long poem, Aurora Leigh, she has also written this very famous sonnet sequence, Sonnets from the Portuguese. This is actually a collection of sonnets written during their courtship period, and that reflects the intensity of their love. It has one of my all-time favorite poems or sonnet, How Do I Love Thee, Let Me Count the Ways. It's a beautiful work. Trust me, if you love somebody, you have to quote this work to them. Okay, it's a beautiful work. I have already explained this sonnet in one of my previous videos. In case you are interested, do watch that. I will leave the link to that in the description box below. It's a beautiful work. Trust me, you have to read it. It's just 14 lines. It's a sonnet, and it's a beautiful work. That is just like one of the best works I have ever read. Now, continuing our story, tragically, when Elizabeth Barrett Browning, when she passed away in Florence, Italy, in 1861, Robert Browning, he made the decision, he decided that he is going to leave the country with their son Pen. And he never returned to Florence. Why? Because the memories of his late wife, they proved to be too overwhelming. He remained unmarried for the next 28 years. He was alive for the next 28 years after Elizabeth died, but this man, he never remarried. That was the kind of love that he had for Elizabeth, not the kind of love you have these days, where people forget you like this, not that kind. And Elizabeth Barrett Browning, she's celebrated for the romantic poems that she dedicated to her husband, this Sonnets from the Portuguese being one of that. Their love story and their legacy, that continues to inspire generations of poets and romantics. The deep connection and the strength of their love, that is evident not just in the personal letters that they wrote to each other, but also in the beautiful poetry that they left behind. And they wrote lots and lots of letters, I think about 300 something or so. And not just that, sonnets from the Portuguese is something that Robert Browning affectionately used to call Elizabeth, and that is why the title is Sonnets from the Portuguese, Sonnets from Elizabeth. She is writing that to Robert Browning, for Robert Browning, expressing that love that she had for him. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I mean, I cannot emphasize that enough. You have to read that work. It's a beautiful one, and at the cost of repeating myself, I'll say this again, excuse me for that, but then in case you have somebody you love, then go ahead and quote this poem to them. In case you truly love, do not just use it for flirtations. No flirtations allowed there. Okay, just use it if you genuinely and truly and deeply love somebody, and I'm sure that they will appreciate that. That's it for this particular video. I hope you liked it, and in case you did, then do not forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.